Charlie Morton does just enough on the mound, but how much do you actually trust Charlie Morton in a big game right now? Jared Kelnick comes up with a big hit, and Jorge Soler gets an RBI hit as well in the 5-2 win for the Atlanta Braves on Wednesday night to clinch a series as they take care of business. We'll talk about all of that, and also the postseason picture where Braves got to keep winning because everybody else around them does as well. All that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves. Get ready to submit your questions to our Friday mailbag episode. I will submit a post from LockedOn_Braves on X. Respond to that post with your question to be answered on our live mailbag episode later this week. If you're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well, so others can find us here at Locked On Braves. Of over 11,000 subscribers now. Thank you so much for all the support that you give me here, letting me know that you're an everydayer, that you make us your first listen of each and every day. I promise that does not get old. I enjoy hearing that from you each and every time. Thank you again for all the love and support that you give me here on the podcast. On today's episode, we'll talk about the 5-2 win over the Rockies on Wednesday night, Charlie Morton's performance, the offense, scoring, getting on base. Would like to see a little bit more, obviously, but not be too greedy. They did get 5 runs on the night. We'll talk about all of that. Bullpen, obviously, pitching in general, great again. And we'll also look at the postseason pitchers. We take a trip around the league. Everybody else in the wild card race is winning as well. So Braves got to keep on this. And that's a big stretch that the Braves are in right now where they need to take advantage. And we just set up for Thursday's game where the Reynaldo Lopez and the Braves will go for the sweep. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. PrizePicks, run your game. The Atlanta Braves ran their game on a Wednesday night with a ludicrous night there at the ballpark, and the Braves get a 5-2 win over the Colorado Rockies. They go ahead and clinch that series, which is nice to see after they let one get away from them in Colorado, taking care of business. These are the games I talked about a lot last year with this Braves team, just those taking care of business types of games. These are the games that you should win. These are the games on paper that you should win fairly easily. Now, neither one of these first 2 wins have necessarily been easy. You've had to use your top 2 relievers in Joe Jimenez and Raisel Iglesias. Tonight, you had to throw Pierce Johnson and Dylan Lee out there too, so you had to use your 4 best relievers, but you win. And with this team, we'll take that. Easy, close, whatever the case may be, we will take all the wins, however that looks. But these are those wins that you have to take advantage of. We've talked about it a lot this week, this stretch that the Braves are in right now, 3 at home against the Rockies, 3 at home against the Blue Jays, 1 at home against the Reds, 2 on the road against the Nationals. You have to go 7-2 in this stretch. The Braves are off to a good start, winning the first 2 games of this series, and a good chance with Lopez on the mound on Thursday to go for a sweep. Look, with the Braves pitching staff, you got a good chance to win every single game. It's all just about the offense and how much offense are you going to get. So let's start there from Wednesday night. It is 5 runs, and we look back at this score in a week from now, and you're probably going to say, it's a good game. The Braves offense scored 5 runs. I think if you watch this game, though, it feels like it should have been a lot more. Once again, you get 4 runs in the first inning and then 1 run for the next 7 innings. Because obviously the Braves didn't have to bat in the bottom of the 9th, and plenty of chances, plenty of opportunities. Just not able to cash in as much as you would have liked to really put this game away and make it so that you don't have to use Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, Raisel Iglesias. But again, I'm trying to be positive and not complain. It's a win. But again, I think there was opportunity in this for more from the offense. But you look at it on the night, 7 hits, 8 walks, and you had plenty of extra base hits. You had 3 doubles. You had a home run in this one. Again, it feels like there's more in the tank for this offense that could have been there, at least on this night. And look, this lineup is not great right now. You look at the top, Michael Harris, Jorge Soler, Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, Travis d'Arnaud. I mean, those are okay. Soler hasn't been great as of late. He did come up tonight with a big RBI hit late in the game to add a tack-on run, which was huge at the time because it was a 4-2 game for far too long. So it was great to see him come up with a 2-out hit there. I posted this on X from at Shortstop Ball. Jorge Soler, since joining the Braves, in that Colorado series, he went 7 for 13 with 4 home runs and 9 RBI. Outside of that series in Colorado against the Rockies, all other games he's played with the Braves this year before tonight, 7 for 66, just 1 home run and 3 RBI. It has been a real struggle for Soler. Now, he did have that hamstring injury right after that Colorado series, and maybe that is affecting him and has been since that happened. But whatever excuse you want to make for it, Soler has been bad at the plate, especially, like I said, outside of a series in one of the most offensive-friendly ballparks or the most offensive-friendly ballpark in baseball. It's been bad. Jorge Soler, there's just no way around it. Yes, he's taken some of his walks, but you also want some of that power from him. Again, 4 of his 5 home runs with the Braves all came in a 3-game series in Coors Field. And the defense, as we know, has not been great either. So he is somebody, look, he's going to be in the lineup, but he's got to step up. He has to step up and start getting on base and doing more damage. So good to see him come through with a 2-out RBI late in the game to kind of pad the lead there a little bit. Like I said, I mean, there was a ton. Everybody reached base in this game at least once. There was plenty of traffic. There's plenty of good to take out of this game offensively, and you score 5 runs. And at the end of the day, that's usually going to be enough for this pitching staff. I would have liked a little bit more. If I'm being honest and being a little greedy, I would have liked a little bit more. But Michael Harris, a 2-hit night. He had 4 hard hit balls on the night, so that is fantastic to see. If he can start doing that in that leadoff spot, the Braves desperately need it, then that's great. Ozuna had a hit and a walk in this one, scored a run. Olsen with a double in the first inning, drove to drive in a run, also walked and scored. And this one, Travis d'Arnaud walked twice, struck out twice, threw out a base runner tonight. So that was nice to see from him. Jared Kelenic, obviously, with the big 3-run home run in the first inning, struck out twice the rest of the game, but did have 2 hard hits on the night. Orlando Arcia, 3 hard hits on the night, had a hit to show for it and a walk in this one. Urshela had a walk. Luke Williams had 2 walks and a stolen base. A couple of steals on the night. I also had the caught stealing, but I'm fine with that. Be aggressive on the bases. Start running, especially when you have guys like Luke Williams, Witt when he's healthy and gets back. We'll talk about that later. Run with these guys when you have an opportunity, especially when you have a lead like that. Put your foot on the gas and try to manufacture something and scratch another run across. So love to see that aggressiveness on the base pass. So like I said, overall, a good night from the offense. 5 runs is generally going to win you a lot of games with this pitching staff. Everybody getting on base at least once. That's what you want to see. A lot of hard contact in this one. It's just if you watched it from start to finish, you feel like there's probably more there that could have been done for this Braves offense. Looking on the pitching side of things, Charlie Morton, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned, 8 strikeouts, and 100 pitches. Only allowed 4 hard hits. But not going deep in the game, struggling with the walks again. Command just kind of losing it from time to time. Did give up the 2 runs. 13 whiffs on 49 swings, a 27% whiff rate. That's certainly solid for him. 13 called strikes for a 26% CSW percentage. Again, not a bad night from Charlie Morton. He threw more fastballs than curveballs this time, and you kind of saw it change recently where he's going to that curveball a lot more, and he had 7 whiffs on 19 swings against that curveball, which is obviously his best pitch. I said this coming in, and I think we have to rid ourselves of that mindset that he's a $20 million pitcher, because I think a lot of fans look at that price tag and just immediately think that he's something more than he is. And at this point in this rotation, Charlie Morton is your 5th starter. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. He's not as good as Schwellenbach, Lopez, Sale, and Fried. He's just not. Now, on most pitching staffs, he's probably a number 3 or a number 4. But for this Braves team, he is their 5th starter, and he is the pitcher that worries me the most. And look, I know the Braves aren't guaranteed to get into the postseason at the moment. And if they do, it's going to be a wild card series where you're only going to need at most 3 starters. So Morton probably doesn't factor into that. But if you get deeper into the postseason, or even in a short series, how much do you actually trust Charlie Morton in a big game right now? I'm curious to know, and I think I probably know what the fan base is going to say, but how much do you actually trust Charlie Morton right now? Again, he scares me the most, but he is your fifth starter. And that's probably what the case should be. And I think he's the best fifth starter in all of baseball. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not sitting here trying to say that Charlie Morton is awful, but he is the fifth starter in my mind. And I think we have this, again, perception because he makes so much that he's more than that. And he's just not. He's a good pitcher. He's not a great pitcher. He's one of the best fifth starters, if not the best fifth starter in all of baseball. But for my mind, if we're in a postseason series, you're in a full, NLDS, NLCS round, I don't really trust Charlie Morton ahead of anybody else in this rotation right now to start a game. But I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Because the Braves offense wasn't able to pull away, you did have to go to Dylan Lee, Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, and Raisel Iglesias, and they were all lights out. Iglesias actually walked somebody, which is just breaking news, but still got out of there in just 15 pitches. Jimenez, he looked great as well. Struck out the first two batters and got out of it. He looked dominant. Honestly, he's looked really, really good here as of late. He's looked good all season. So the bullpen, pitching in general, just doing what they've done all year long. But it's a 5-2 win for the Braves. They clinch a series against the Rockies, doing exactly what you need them to do and taking care of business in these games. And it's got to continue. You can't stop now. You got a chance to sweep this series. You got Reynaldo Lopez on the mound. You got to keep pushing. You have to win every single game that you can, and that includes the game on Thursday. There can be no let up from this Braves team, and I don't think there will be. But these are the series. This is the time you go for the jugular. You go for the sweep, and that's what the Braves will be doing on Thursday. We'll talk more about that in the third segment. But next, I want to take a look at the playoff picture, the postseason race. Of course, we'll talk about the wild card where everybody is winning. The Cubs are out here throwing no hitters right now, trying to get into the wild card. We'll discuss all of that here next. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And right now, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in the month of September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That's 4 weeks of free wins. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Georgia and the great state of Alabama. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen of today. Make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast, where Sully's getting you ready for the postseason as well, like we're about to do. But he does it every day, talking about all the teams from Major League Baseball. Don't know how he keeps up with all of them, but he does. You can check that out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every single day. We only got one major podcast here left on Locked On Braves this week. It'll be our mailbag episode, so look ready or be ready for my post from LockedOn_Braves on X. Submit your question to that to be answered on our live mailbag episode with me and Grant. We'll have some more postcasts coming your way this week. And I plan to be at the game on Sunday. If you're going to be there, let me know. Would love to meet you. But I'll be there on Sunday. Looking forward to that and the post-game concert with Casting Crowns. So that'll be a lot of fun this weekend. It is our Around the League segment. Going to take a look at the standings around the league right now in the postseason picture. And I know games are going on as we're recording right now, but the Yankees and Orioles are currently tied atop the AL East. Ken, that's just going to be such a fun battle here the rest of the way. Neither team really playing great lately. The Yankees are 4-6 in their last 10. The Orioles are 5-5, but still obviously two really good teams that are going to be battling it out. The Royals just ended a long losing streak. They're 3-7 in their last 10, but so are the Twins. So those two teams right there are still tied. But the Guardians, and they're just 5-5 in their last 10. But because the Twins and Royals have cooled off, they now have a 4.5 game lead over those two teams. So looking like the Guardians are going to be safe after a little bit of a scare there. They were actually tied with the Royals for a minute in the AL Central, but now they have pulled back away to 4.5 games in the AL Central. In the AL West, the Astros up 6 games on the Mariners. They're 6-4 in their last 10, even though they've lost 2 in a row. So the Astros looking pretty in the AL West, might win that division once again. Looking at the AL wildcard standings, it is the Orioles by a wide margin, and then the Twins and the Royals. So it's looking like either the Orioles or the Yankees, whoever doesn't win that division, they'll be the top wildcard team. And then it's a pretty safe bet right now that the Twins and Royals will be those other two wildcard teams in some order. The closest team is actually the Detroit Tigers at 5 games back. The Boston Red Sox are 5.5 games back. They've lost 5 in a row. They could not help us out, at least yet, against the New York Mets. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. So the AL picture is looking pretty clear at the moment, unless one team just falters big time, although we just saw a big losing streak from the Royals and a tough stretch for the Twins, and they're still 5 games up on a postseason spot. So the American League looking pretty set at the moment. In the National League, the Phillies are up 7 games on the Braves, 7.5 on the Mets in the NL East. I've already kind of conceded the NL East at this point, especially the Phillies. They've won 2 since that. They've won 4 in a row now, 8-2 in their last 10. They seem to be getting back on track after a little skid in the second half. Phillies are right there in the mix for that top seed in the National League. The Brewers there as well. They're 9.5 games up on the Cubs, 6-4 in their last 10 games. That division race is over. And I think the NL West is as well. The Padres and Diamondbacks made a good push in the second half, but the Dodgers are up 5.5 games. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And it looks like they're going to cruise to another NL West title. So I think the divisions are settled, but it is a battle for that top overall seed. And I think that might surprise some people. The Dodgers at 84 wins, the Brewers at 81, the Phillies at 83. So all 3 of those teams kind of right there in the mix, still battling for that top seed and one of those top 2 seeds to get the bye. Now, the NL wildcard picture is the most exciting postseason race to watch the rest of the way. You got the Padres and Diamondbacks at the top, but the Braves just behind them as well for that last wild card spot. And then the Mets right behind them at just a half a game, as the Mets have won 7 games in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. So they are currently hot at the moment, playing great baseball. And I think as a Braves fan, certainly you want to keep your eye on the Mets and what they're doing. But look, if the Mets just get hot and play this way the rest of the month and they pass the Braves, there's still obviously a chance for the Braves to get in. You got to keep your eye on the Diamondbacks and Padres. Could the Braves surpass one of them? That is certainly possible. So while I know a lot of our attention is on the Mets, you also got to keep your eyes on the Diamondbacks and Padres, see if either of them falter, because the Braves aren't too far behind them either at the moment. The Cubs are in the mix as well, just 4.5 games back. Like I said, they threw a no-hitter, combined no-hitter, started by Imanaga on a Wednesday night. The Cubs just 4.5 back. And then the Cardinals at 6 games back. They're 6-4 in their last 10. The Cubs 7-3 in their last 10. All those teams, the Padres, Diamondbacks, Braves, Mets, Cubs, Cardinals, all have either a 500 or winning record in their last 10 games. So that NL wildcard race is going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, that's where the Braves are, trying to find themselves into a postseason spot. And we talked about it on our last podcast. What is the ideal matchup? What is the ideal spot? You want to go back and give that a listen. We talked about it there. Now, looking at the end of the season award races, I think it's very interesting to take a look at that now with a couple of weeks to go. You look at the NL MVP race, and I know everybody's saying that it's going to be a landslide win for Shohei Ohtani, and it probably will be. But if you look at FanGraphs, Francisco Lindor leads all of the National League with a 7.2 F-WAR, Ohtani at 6.7. Now, you look just strictly offensive side of things. Lindor has a 137 WRC plus, Ohtani a 169 WRC plus. Lindor's on the cusp of getting another 30-30 season. Ohtani on the cusp of getting the first ever 50-50 season. And look, if he does that, he wins the MVP, hands down. I said it last year with Acuna that if he gets to 40-40, especially once he got to 40-50, 40-60, that he wins it just because of that. He's doing something nobody's ever done. So I can't be hypocritical and then say that can't be the case for Ohtani. But I will say this, and I'm sure many people, many Dodgers fans that maybe come in to listen to this, Lindor is more valuable. I mean, the fact that he plays shortstop, which, from my handle, I think it's the most important position on the field. He does that, and he's playing, at a lights out level offensively, going to have a 30-30 season, potentially take his Mets team into the postseason. If he does that, in my mind, Lindor is more valuable than Shohei Ohtani. And look, there is a difference between the most valuable player, in my opinion. I don't vote on this. There is a difference between the most valuable player and the best offensive player. The Hank Aaron Award, in my mind, is for the best offensive player, and that is clearly Shohei Ohtani. But if you're talking most valuable, I don't know how you can give it to a DH over somebody who plays not just every day, but plays shortstop. Plays the most important position on the field other than maybe catcher. So again, Ohtani's going to win it. He should win it. But I think it's a legitimate case for Lindor, especially if he stays this hot and his team gets into the postseason. The NL Rookie of the Year race, Jackson Merrill, 4.2 F4, 127 WRC plus. Watch out for Jackson Trio there. A hot second half. He is up to 3.5 F4, 120 WRC plus. Merrill's on the cusp of getting a 2020 season. So is Trio. So those two guys could be duking out the rest of the way. And nobody talks about Paul Skeens, 3.3 F4, 2.13 ERA, 9-2, 142 strikeouts in 114 innings. But in my mind, the precedent was set in the year that Michael Harris finished 1 and Spencer Strider 2, because you could make the case that Spencer Strider was one of the most dominant pitchers in all of baseball that year. But they gave the award to Michael Harris because he was just that good offensively, and you're going to give it to the offensive player who plays every day. And Jackson Merrill has been there from start to finish. So I think he is the favorite. You look on FanDuel, he's the favorite. And if, even if you have a pitcher that's that dominant and that good, if you have an offensive player that's even close to that, I think you have to give it to the offensive player. The NL Cy Young Award, Chris Sale leads by a wide margin in F4 at 6.1 over Zach Wheeler at 4.4. I do think it comes down to these two guys. Chris Sale, 16-3 with a 2.46. Zach Wheeler, 13-6 with a 2.63. Sale with 206 strikeouts and 160 and 2/3 innings. Wheeler with 183 strikeouts and 167 and 2/3 innings. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that Chris Sale was going to be pretty much on par with the same number of innings as Zach Wheeler, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are. I do think Chris Sale is the clear favorite. I think that could change, though, if Chris Sale were to have a blow up and Zach Wheeler would just to stay as dominant as he was last Saturday. So I don't think it's a done deal. In the NL Cy Young race, Chris Sale is going to have to continue to go out there and do what he's done all year. So I don't think that one's over yet, but I do think it's between those two guys, and I think it would take a blow up from Chris Sale, and let's really hope that doesn't happen. In the American League, the AL MVP race, this is judges. I mean, it is 9.7 F4, 217 WRC plus, slashing 324, 457, 706. Slugging percentage. Not OPS, that's slugging percentage. 51 home runs, 124 runs batted in. But man, if my guy Bobby Witt Jr. doesn't have a real argument. Same thing I'm kind of making in the NL. At least Judge does play in the field, but Bobby Witt plays the most demanding and important position in the field. Like I said, maybe outside of catcher, and he has a 9.6 F4. Now it's a 173 WRC plus, obviously much lower, but slashing 340, 394, 612, 30 home runs, 28 stolen bases. He is on the cusp of a 30-30 season. It's almost the same thing in the AL to the NL. You got a shortstop having an incredible 30-30 season, plays great defense, but you got a slugger who's hitting a ton of home runs, getting those big counting numbers, doing things we haven't seen. And so Judge and Ohtani are going to win it. But man, shout out to those shortstops that are just having incredible seasons and unfortunately are having to go up against some Goliaths. In the AL Rookie of the Year race, this is honestly up for grabs. I don't know that anybody just truly deserves this. I guess you say Colton Cowser. He's been there from beginning to end, or pretty much from beginning to end. 3.5 F4, 120 WRC plus, but hitting just 247, 327 on base percentage, 447 slug, 20 homers, 8 steals. He has over 100 more at bats than the next two candidates in Austin Wells and Wilyer Abreu. If Luis Hill gets back in the starting rotation and has a good finish, maybe Mason Miller. I don't think they're going to give it over to, like I said, an offensive player who's been there for most of the season and has put up good numbers. I mean, 3.5 F4 for Colton Cowser compared to Jackson Trio, who's at 3.5 F4 after a slow start and a hot finish, and Jackson Merrill at 4.2 F4. Again, I think it's probably Cowser, but who knows in the AL Rookie of the Year race. I still think that one could be up for grabs. In the AL Cy Young race, there is nothing up for grabs. Tarek Skubal could not throw another pitch this year, and he will win the AL Cy Young Award. 5 F4, 16-4, a 2.51 ERA, a 0.93 WHIP, and 201 strikeouts and 168 in a third innings. So those are the end of season award pitchers, as well as the postseason pitcher. We'll obviously update you on that every week the rest of the way. But let me know what you think for some of these end of season awards. Do you think the shortstops should get the MVP over Judge and Ohtani? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Should the DH get as rewarded as somebody who plays in the field every day? Would love to know your thoughts there as well. And just lastly, this has kind of been going on in the social atmosphere. Is Ohtani getting more attention for what he's doing this year than Acuna? Yes, he absolutely is. Should he? Maybe. I mean, he's again doing something we've never seen before. It is Ohtani. He is a polarizing figure. It just is what it is. He's playing for the Dodgers. Again, he's a huge worldwide figure. Acuna should be that. But it's Ohtani, and it's the Dodgers. It is what it is. It's somewhat upsetting because last year this time we were talking about how stolen bases weren't as important, and now all of a sudden they are. And we were talking about how Mookie Betts deserves it because he plays a decent second base as well as the outfield. And now all of a sudden here we are, Ohtani doing similar things, and it's the greatest thing we've ever seen. So I get it from a Braves fan perspective. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And I think you just have to live with that, knowing it's Ohtani, it's the name, and it's the team that he's playing for. All right, next we'll get into Thursday's matchup. Lopez on the mound, looking to close out a sweep of the Colorado Rockies. We'll also get an update on Whit Merrifield. We'll do all that here next. Do you love getting money back on things that you're going to buy anyway? Of course you do. Why would you not? Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $145 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, buy the flight that you've been eyeing, or that game that you're dying to go to. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you just add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Whit Merrifield's CT scan came back clean, said he feels better, but did say there was some swelling in his head, which is just scary, and said it hurt to put on his hat. So he thinks he could be back out there to play Thursday. I would not be surprised, especially with the Braves winning the first two games of the series. I think that goes back to the old Bobby Cox days. On that Sunday game, after you win the first two, you just throw your bench out there. I would be surprised if Whit is back out there on Thursday, but hopefully he will be back soon, as it looks like he's avoided any type of serious injury. On Thursday, it'll be Austin Gomber on the mound versus Reynaldo Lopez. For Gomber, he's been doing a good job of going deep into games for the Rockies this year. He's gone at least 6 innings in 5 of his last 6 outings. Batters are slugging .582 against his four-seamer this year, and he has just a 39% ground ball rate, and he has the highest home run per 9 among qualified pitchers. So this is an opportunity. If you can hunt that fastball, Braves hitters should have the ability to hit a couple of home runs off of him, and hopefully that's going to be the case. We see the offense put up a good game, and we can avoid some of our best relievers who are probably going to be down in this one. For Austin Gomber, he does have a really good knuckle curveball, so be wary of that. Look out for it. Like I said, again, hunt that four-seam fastball that is very hittable and take advantage of that fly ball rate and see if you can get some out on Thursday night. As for Reynaldo Lopez, he's looked as good as ever since returning from injury. I know it's just been 3 starts since coming back, but 17 innings, 12 hits, 5 walks, just 3 earned runs, and 23 strikeouts. So perhaps that rest did him some good. Hopefully it's another good start from the Braves starter. They can keep this streak going of Brave starters allowing 3 runs or less, and the Braves can get a sweep. What they should do, again, taking care of business, a thumbnail for this, kind of my mantra all year long, because that's what the Braves did all year long last year. Haven't done that this year. Want to see him get it done on Thursday with the sweep. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I see Hattie May in there, Monty 2K, Braves Thrills joining me tonight, Doc's Cards. Can't wait for Acuna in 2025. Me either, but this isn't over. Let's not go anywhere yet. Little E in here, the wild one. Thank you all for joining. Wells, Save Seattle. Thank you all for being here. Mass Boost, Nathaniel Brooks. Appreciate you all joining me here live. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves, though. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Make your second listen to Locked On MLB podcast with Sully, getting you ready for the postseason, everything happening around Major League Baseball. We will have our live mailbag episode on Friday, either morning or mid-afternoon. Get ready to submit your questions for that episode. Check out the Braves and Rockies on Thursday night on SiriusXM. It'll be Lopez versus Austin Gomber. You can catch that on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Braves. That again will do it for this episode. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.